Welcome to the King's Court, the online podcast of the Haunted Majestic floating haunted attraction located in Huntington, West Virginia. I'm your host, Bram Stoker award-winning horror writer, Michael Nost. Tonight, we bring you our final of 4 off-season podcasts. Our guest list for this final show includes Tracy Pritt from Funtime Productions, Paul Bradford from TV's trending Fear Ghost Hunting show, horror author Tony Evans, and Haunted Majestic's haunt manager Tony Bowen. If you missed any of our 3 previous podcasts, you can catch them anytime on our website at www.hauntedmajestic.com. They are archived in our media section under the King's Court heading. Just click on any episode and listen at your convenience. We open our show tonight with Tracy Pritt, producer from the horror movie studio Funtime Productions. The production company based in Southern Ohio has its most recent release in Walmart stores across the country. Tracy, tell us about Night Howl.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Night Howl, let's see, it's a psychological thriller, and it is still available. It went into online retail December 2019 at Walmart, Target, Best Buy, Barnes & Noble, FYE, pretty much all the major retail stores, but online at first. And then we found out about the beginning of spring this year that it had went on a Creature DVD 4-pack inside Walmart. So we were really excited about that. And so that's been, we've been so proud of that, being able to go in there. And then, let's see, we have one that just released into like many retail stores also, our slasher film, Are We the Waiting? And that was August 20th. So we're happy that right now we have 2 of our films available right now out at some major retail stores.
That's pretty exciting. Now, let me ask you this. One facet of your company that I think is pretty unique is that your films have been filmed locally using mostly local actors and production crews. Tell us about that.
Yeah, what happened is it was, I think, the beginning of summer in 2015, and my son had just graduated high school, and instead of wanting, some kids want the car or whatever for graduation, he said, I would just like some form of film equipment. I want to do films. That's what I've always, and, he'd always took drama and acted in all the plays and Community and all that. And, so that's what we did. And he had some friends. Some of his friends wanted to do it to put it on their portfolio and volunteered for the movie. He had some auditions for West Virginia, Kentucky, and Ohio, and we got some more people on board. His sister had been, at the time, was a wedding videographer. And so she became the camera woman. And from there, now we're into having 4 full feature films. And like I said, the last 2 in major retail. And we have several shorts. And he's still, and most of all the ones that started with the first film in 2015 are all still, they come back for more films. But they want to be, if they were evil in the first one, they want to be, the good character in the next. They just keep switching around. Right. So it's and family. It's just families joined in, and there's just so many people. I couldn't tell you how big of in this area people have been wonderful in making his dream come true, and then along adding it to like their portfolios, and because it's a rarity, as in our area.
Sure.
So it's been a really great experience and been accepted really well.
And do you have any other films that you have not mentioned that are in the works?
We were going to do one, of course, this summer, and he don't want me to mention now that we're not, but because of the pandemic, of course, that definitely got put on hold. So he also is a singer-songwriter, so he's decided to take a break and work on that for right now. He's got some songs out on Spotify, iTunes, and all that kind of stuff, but that's just the other passion. So right now we're taking a break until we feel it's a little more safe to have, the cast, everybody together.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Tracy, thanks for being a part of the King's Court tonight. Folks, you can meet Tracy and other members of the Fun Time Productions crew at Haunted Majestic on Friday and Saturday nights, October 16th and 17th, and follow them on their Facebook page, Fun Time Productions. Next up is Paul Bradford, one of the country's best-known paranormal investigators who is a cast member on the Travel Channel's hit show Trending Fear. Paul, welcome to the show tonight.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Paul, many of our listeners tonight are familiar with your work on the Travel Channel's Trending Fear or the Sci-Fi Channel's Ghost Hunters International TV shows and are interested in learning more about some of the haunted places that you have visited. What are some of the most haunted and scary sites that you've investigated over the years?
Wow. Well, first of all, actually, I'm British, so I don't get scared. But some of the most, I think, memorable locations that I've ever personally been to there's Belize, which, to be honest with you, is one of the ones that I don't know, it was breathtaking, to be honest with you. As a kid growing up, I either wanted to be James Bond or Indiana Jones. And this Belize case that we did, that was Indiana Jones. I was, with the exception of a giant rock chasing me out of this cave, I was Indiana Jones. And we basically got to this location. It was about a 45-minute walk through jungle. We had to trek through 3 rivers. We got to this makeshift campsite. And then we had to swim into a cave with all of our equipment. And essentially, what I did is I got all my equipment and I put them into one of these Pelican cases, and I wrapped them all in Ziploc bags, and then double wrapped them all in Ziploc bags, put it in the Pelican case, tied the Pelican case to some rope, tied the rope around me, and then I'm swimming into this cave. Then we have to climb up some rock. We had to go through a little cavern. We had to go through holes. We were splunking is the word. But then we had to sort of climb up a rock and then jump over the rock onto this cavern. And then we went inside this cathedral. And this is about 2.5 miles of just underground. It was a recently discovered part of this cave system. And, at the very, very end was the fossilized remains that had been crystallized. This quartz crystal had actually grown over this bone of this. And it was actually a Mayan princess. And it was a sacrificial thing. As you wandered through this entire chamber, you could actually see pottery, which we're told, started off with grains and things like that they would sacrifice, and then further on there's animal bones, and then further on you see this Maya princess. So they would basically be sacrificing the grain to the gods for a better crop. The crop didn't happen, so they would sacrifice animals to the gods. That didn't happen, and then basically, they'd sacrifice their princess. Is what the archaeologists have said. So that. If nothing else, yes, there was some very weird stuff in there, and it was creepy, and, for many reasons, not just, the potential for paranormal activity, but, there's some very strange insects that dwell in caves. But, yeah, so that in itself is probably one of the most memorable I've done.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, it was. I was absolutely shattered. Mentally and physically, I was drained. But at the time, hated it, but the next day it was just such a memorable experience, and something which I know I'll never forget.
Now, those who have watched your shows know your travels have taken you around the globe, and do you think there are any certain countries that have more haunted places than others? And does older buildings or more historic places tend to have more, I guess you could say, paranormal activity than newer ones?
I don't know. I think you find that sometimes the theory suggests that the newer buildings would be haunted only because there's, the original house that may have been on that land, or the land itself, is being disturbed. So if there was a house there and they renovated this house, or they knocked the house down and put new housing on there, that's one of those things that theory suggests stirs up activity, because whoever was there, if it was a somewhat conscious spirit, they'd be pissed off,
Sure.
So ultimately, that's just, again, it's all theory, but that suggests, when there's construction and things like that, it causes things to happen, so to speak.
And finally tonight, let's take a minute to talk about your plans for this coming October. You are scheduled to be a guest at Haunted Majestic on Friday and Saturday nights. That's October 16th and 17th. And these hospital barges have quite a history. Are you planning on taking a little sneak in, a quick hunt while you're there?
I may very well, actually. I do know that they are definitely planning on a ghost hunt that evening, and I definitely may take the opportunity to see. I only recently realized it was barges. I had no idea that they're actually like on the river. So I was thinking it was going to be like a haunted house, and then I did a little bit more research. I was like, oh my goodness,
yeah,
this sounds fascinating, like hospital boats.
Yeah.
So, I think I'd be silly not to try and take advantage of a little wander around, a little exploration, And absolutely, I'll be there meeting the people, the patrons, the guests. Taking photographs, signing autographs. That's like taking photographs and signing autographs, and just having some fun. Maybe I'll scare the crap out of somebody. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah.
Paul, thanks for being with us tonight. I know you're busy, and I don't want to keep you very long. So thanks again for being on.
Oh, no problem at all, man. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Folks, you can meet Paul Bradford in person at Haunted Majestic from 6 to 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturday evening, October 16th and 17th. A general admission ticket to the haunt gets you access to all the haunt's guests on the night you attend. Our third guest tonight is Kentucky-born and bred horror author Tony Evans. Tony, who now lives and writes in Indiana, still finds a way to keep those bluegrass hollers and storylines in his books. Tony, as you know, Appalachia is a special place to grow up and live, and the region provides us great backdrops for horror stories. Tell us how you've been able to use those Kentucky roots in your many stories.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I grew up in extreme eastern Kentucky, right on the border of West Virginia. And my dad, he all the time used to tell me these old, what he all the time just called holler stories. Mm-hmm. And usually they consisted of things like boogeymen or demons out in the woods, stuff like Bloody Bones, who's a character that makes a lot of appearances in some of the stories I write. And a lot of them... I
grew up with Bloody Bones.
Oh, Bloody Bones was fantastic, man, I'm telling you. And a lot of them had to do with what everybody back there calls holler witches. And a lot of times the term holler witch kind of just gets thrown on anybody who people would term like a witch, or just somebody who could heal using herbs and stuff. But most of the stories my dad told me had to do with the mean kind of holler witches. Mm-hmm. And stuff like that fascinated me, man. And I ended up moving out and going to college, and you just don't hear a lot of stories like that outside of the mountains, and specifically outside of Appalachia. So I guess when I started writing, I kind of missed those kind of old tales from the crypt / tales from the dark side vibe stories that are kind of campy and just gory. And I wanted to do my best to kind of retell some of the ones that he told me as a kid.
Some of us start writing at a really early age, and some don't really get the itch until way later in life. What's Tony Evans' story?
Okay, this is a good one. So I used to be one of them people who believed that authors had it made, like it was just an easy job. You just you just come up with these ideas and you write about them, and you end up becoming a millionaire, kind of like Stephen King, Mm-hmm. And I didn't even read fiction until I was in grad school, really. I was at a scientific conference, and I've got 2 degrees in biology. And my wife, she mentioned to me, because she got tired of me talking about horror stories that I like to watch on TV. And she mentioned to me, she said, you should go into the bookstore here and get a book about horror. And I said, look, they don't write the kind of stuff that I'm interested in. Well, she said, have you ever heard of Stephen King? And I said, yeah, but his stuff ain't what I like, But anyway, she convinced me to do it. And I went in and I picked up a short story collection called Everything's Eventual.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a fantastic collection.
Sure is.
But it's not his goriest by any means, but it definitely got me hooked. And the further I went in, the better it got. You know, I found out about Night Shift and Skeleton Crew, and then Clive Barker came along, and then Neil Gaiman's horror stuff came along, and you know, all the stuff that I found, I just didn't find a lot of stuff that kind of hit like those Tales from the Crypty stories that I was mentioning earlier. And so I thought to myself, well, you know, I can do better than this. I can write some of these stories, write what I like to hear. And I tried it, and it was at that point in time that I found out how bad of a fiction writer I actually was. It got rejected so many times, and eventually, you know, an editor from one of the larger indie presses kind of had pity on me, and he said, "Look, this is a really good idea," but he sent it back completely edited for free, which I'm very thankful for. And it looked like somebody. I mean, it was bleeding. You've heard the term bleeding red. It was horrible.
It was bloodier than the story itself.
It was bad, but you know, that's kind of how I started writing. It was very late in life, considerably. You know, maybe back about 2013, 2014, something like that.
All right, so finally, I'm going to ask that question that we all have in the backs of our mind. Why is a horror writer from Kentucky who lives in Indiana interested in being a part of a haunted attraction in Huntington, West Virginia?
Well, that's a good question, too. Again, I grew up really close to Huntington. It was where I grew up was a really small town, kind of almost halfway between Ashland and Pikeville. And in order to do any shopping, we had to go to either Paintsville, Kentucky, Ashland, Kentucky, or Huntington, West Virginia. And I guess getting the opportunity to come back to Huntington to a haunted attraction kind of brings, not that I'm any big deal or anything, but it kind of brings me back kind of full circle to where I can offer some of these stories that I've done to the people that grew up here, and hopefully the same kind of thing. And, you know, maybe they'll take an interest to it.
Sure.
I mean, it's a really cool attraction too. I've also got a couple of friends who've been to it, and they say fabulous things about it. So I'm pretty excited to see you guys this October.
Well, we're excited about seeing you as well. Tony, thanks for being with us tonight and sharing a little bit about your books. Folks, you can follow Tony Evans and his latest projects online at www.tonyevanshorror.com. Tony will be a guest at Haunted Majestic on Friday and Saturday nights, October 16th and 17th. Come see him from 6 to 10 p.m. those nights in our pavilion area at the Haunt. And finally, tonight, we visit again with the haunt director at Haunted Majestic, Tony Bowen. Tony's job is to plan, create, and operate the haunt's many on-site attractions, which has become a year-round responsibility for the career of fire lieutenant. Tony, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Well, Halloween is quickly approaching and COVID-19 is still out there, and I'm sure the number one thing of people's minds right now is what's the latest plan for Haunted Majestic's 2020 planned opening?
Well, we are going to be opening this year on October the 16th and the 17th, and the 23rd, the 24th, and the 30th and the 31st.
And another thing I've heard is that the Haunt is planning a tour with Who You Came With type of system where you would tour the Haunt with only the folks from your party in an effort to keep exposure to those outside of your group to a minimum. Tell us how that's going to work.
Well, this year we have the ability to do online ticketing this year, and that is if you are purchasing a ticket and you have a group of people that you want to go through, that is the only group that will go through on that tour. That'll help minimize the numbers of people that we're going to have coming through the Haunt this year. That's also going to help minimize the line forming at our ticket booth. But we're also going to have social distancing markers that'll be set up around our ticket booth to promote the social distancing for our patrons.
Yeah, and that was another question I was going to ask. Is Haunted Majestic doing anything special in the haunt scenes themselves to help with the social distancing other than what you just mentioned? What other things can those who are going to be in attendance expect?
Well, our actors will have their temperatures checked whenever they report to work, and any symptoms that they report, they won't be allowed into the haunt as actors. The actors are going to be maintaining social distancing with the patrons, no in-your-face scares, and all of our actors are going to be wearing masks this year.
Okay. Tony, as always, thanks for joining us tonight and giving our listeners a look inside Haunted Majestic's behind-the-scenes preparations.
Thank you for having me.
Well, folks, that does it for our final King's Court podcast for this summer. We hope you will take time to listen to any of our shows that you may have missed over the past several months, and keep checking our website and social media pages for updates about Haunted Majestic and plans for 2020 and beyond. We look forward to seeing you the last 3 weekends in October at West Virginia's only floating haunt, Haunted Majestic. Until we meet again, I'm your host, Michael Nost, wishing you a good night and safe travels.